Greetings everyone, Zoe Wind here, checking in from the epic Oak Creek of Sedona. These sacred rocks are just profound for grounding, centering, activating. They're literally like mostly pure silica quartz, so we're standing on and living in a crystal temple, which is why I call this the crystal temple. This vortex is no joke. She's a major activator, clearer, distiller, alchemist. And it's perfect for what I want to talk about today, because we have yet again another powerful week. A little gentler in the sense that I think we've all started to adjust to the energies that have been setting in for the last couple weeks. So we're basically in the runway to the eclipses that will start at the end of the month. The first one will be a penumbral eclipse, lunar eclipse on March 25th, and then the big show of the year, the total solar eclipse, April 8th in Aries. And so, as many of you know, because I know you're all paying attention to the astrology and how it's corresponding or mirroring our reality here on Earth, eclipses are big ones, right? Things pop out of the portals that are opened by our great luminaries, the sun and the moon and the earth all aligning at the same time, in the same line of space. And space-time, as much as we might want to think it's an illusion, is where we reside. It is the laws and the universal framework, tapestry that we have to play in. It's what gives us this experience. And so this is really relative when we're speaking about Pisces, which is the beyond, the quantum, the infinite potential of all things. And this might feel really alive for all of you right now in Pisces season. We tend to feel dreamy. Sometimes we start to feel a little lost, not so much in our bodies, but this is incredible for creativity and dreaming and visioning things to bring them down. Our recent full moon in Virgo was opposing Saturn in Pisces, so we're also being tested right now to be able to live both as quantum beings and as earthly beings in the 3D. And so yesterday we had Venus square Uranus, Venus in Aquarius squaring Uranus in Taurus, which is saying, it's time to really break from any habits or excesses that we might fall back on for escape when we feel overwhelmed, and to really bring in a healthy, revolutionary new way of engaging with our bodies, engaging with our relationship to life, to self. Pisces is the subconscious mind. And you're still in this massive healing portal that I've been talking about for the last month, with Chiron aligned to the North Node. He's actually aligned perfectly to the mean North Node today, whereas the true North Node happened a couple weeks ago. And so this is collective activation of healing of our individual sovereignty, our right to write our own story. I always say it's time to let go of history and embrace our story, to write it anew, because we are all programmed. Hate to break it to you, myself included. And the subconscious mind is 90% of the brain. Pisces is the space of this subconscious, the collective unconscious that Carl Jung spoke about. It is a very important feature of our being because it contains information from our ancestors, from all humans who've ever lived, that literally allows us to know things without having to have learned them in this lifetime. So for example, we might see a snake or a bug that's bright red, and our body will actually respond as though it knows that it may potentially be dangerous or poisonous, right? And we know that these creatures can be poisonous. Bright colors can symbolize that in nature. So it's very important to know things like we should fear falling off a ledge or that we should be careful crossing the road. But the subconscious holds everything that we experienced from 0 to 7 years old. And it does that so that we can take in the world in our early years and form a basis for what is the world that we're born into today and how do we work in it. And of course, this is full of things that are not actually true, that are not actually useful. It's going to include especially the fears of our parents, the worries that our parents were going through. Not that they were ever meaning to allow that to affect us. It could include the way we were treated by teachers and authority figures, the ways that we were teased and made fun of, right, in school growing up. It was pretty hard, growing up in the public school system, if any of you did like I did. And we're in this massive time of unlearning, and we're actually hacking the brain at this time to get into the subconscious mind and clear out old programs and bring in positive, healthy new ones. Even if we're saying our mantras, we're doing our work, I'm sure you can relate. Sometimes the patterns just don't seem to shift. And this is always a clue that it's in the subconscious deep, and it's still informing us even if we've cultivated some mastery over our conscious mind. And so I teach mental mastery tools, self-mastery tools, because these tools have transformed my life for me to move out of one timeline and jump into a completely different reality. This is a potential of Pisces, but it's not the dream and fantasize and it'll just happen one day, right? It requires also 3D reflection and action. And so we're in this time right now that is this tremendous healing portal for any kind of work like this, right? Any kind of subconscious work, hypnotherapy, shamanic work, soul work, inner child work, anything, you name it, parts work. It's going to be extra profound. It might be a little harder to understand how it's working. Like, it'll make more sense come Aries season, but right now, if we're doing the work, you'll feel the energy move. And something that's really being activated, especially as Mercury conjuncts Neptune later this week, is that we're being called into energetic integrity. The universe knows the difference between what I speak and what my energy says. And likewise, we're in a time where humanity is activating our spiritual abilities, our psychic abilities, telepathy. How many times do you think of someone and they just call you nowadays, right? And or you're about to say something and your friend literally responds to the thing you didn't even say yet, right? So this is up-leveling our need to be in full energetic integrity, which is another Piscean realm event, because we often will hear that the shadow of Pisces is deceptions, delusions, illusions. And so with Saturn there for this 2.5-year stay, we're being asked to come into integrity, which the root of that word means wholeness. Wholeness of our being. What I say matches my energy, matches what I believe. Now, obviously, we're all works in progress, and sometimes we're feeling something that we haven't moved yet, and we're still going to respond in the way that we know is our higher truth, even if maybe we're not quite there energetically, right? But integrity is not something that I think we should be concerned about, like, oh my God, I'm out of integrity, I'm a bad person, I'm dishonest. Like, we want to really look at the stories that are coming up now, because Pisces' gift is also around compassion. And Venus is going to go into Pisces at the end of this week. So we're going to have this healing portal open up because she's exalted in Pisces. And the ability to find that forgiveness, that compassion of, yeah, I know that this is my truth, and right now my body's catching up, right? Or my body feels good, but my mind is running, right? So we're probably getting, and I would expect to get, a lot of clarity and insight this week into where you can come into greater alignment on all levels, and then see if the way that we're acting and showing up and seeking to make things happen is aligning with what's actually showing up, right? So I know I'm doing this in my life very intensely. And so Venus and Mars both square Uranus this week, which is amazing because Uranus is higher activated awareness, it's DNA activations, it's just this knowing, it's this higher view where we're less attached, we're more detached, and we can just kind of observe things as they are without a reaction. And then Venus, well, she's full of feelings, you know, and she's in Aquarius in Uranus's sign, but Uranus is in Taurus. So it's saying that we're ready to make some huge changes. Squares are choice points, breakups, or bringing in something new in order to move forward in our lives. They are decision points. They are great times to take action. So if you're feeling called to take action, to detach from old stories and ways that you used to approach relationships, money, beauty, pleasure, maybe it's escaping through this or that pattern, maybe it's fear, maybe it's where we're being impractical, maybe it's where we need to dream more. You know, I don't like to limit us to one or another expression of a sign because it is really so multifaceted. And so my approach is always going to be to inform you of the energies and the energetics and the archetypal frequencies that you can tap into and the places in your life that you can look so that you can make the biggest change, the biggest impact, the greatest optimization of these portals of energy, because what we really have is sacred geometry, aligning and channeling frequencies to the planet, and it's like a wave that you want to catch and you want to ride it, right? So Venus square Uranus is like, okay, what relationships are working, which ones are not? Mars square Uranus, where am I putting my energy and my attention? I've been speaking a lot about how currency in the Aquarian age is energy. It's currents of energy, right? And so I'm seeing and witnessing, and even through myself, this pattern, this story that is really emulating to me from the South Node in Libra, in the collective of everybody's working through relationship stuff. Is it fair? Is it balanced? Is it equal? Is it even? This isn't fair. I'm overgiving. I'm not receiving enough, you know? And there's this beautiful movement that's been happening, an awakening and healing from 2,000 plus years of patriarchy, of healing from self-sacrifice, self-martyrdom, right? We were all raised in this world where we were praised for self-sacrifice. We were praised for always saying yes, always showing up, always giving more. And we were programmed that that was going to get us love, more or less, as children. And then we get older and we're trying to heal ourselves and move out of, you know, this shadow of the age of Pisces. And it's beautiful. But what I'm seeing is now there's this like, oh, but I'm overgiving and this isn't fair and this isn't balanced, when it's like, well, then it's not giving, right? I was chatting with a friend the other day and she was speaking about a message that came through that said, if we're giving with expectation, then it's not giving, it's manipulation. This is a great motto for all of us, I think, because there's nothing wrong with wanting love. There's nothing wrong with needing love. We all need love. We all deserve to receive. There is never a moment that we could ever give someone anything that they didn't deserve. Everyone deserves good things. I guess unless it's giving someone something negative. But we all deserve good things. We don't have to earn it. There is no need to earn it. We may need to show up. We may need to take action. We can't actually receive the gift if we don't show up to the party, so to speak. But there is no not deserving. But there is doing things out of a place that is not integritous for ourselves, meaning that it wasn't true to the core of our being, that we had enough resources, that we had enough energy, that we wanted to, that we felt good about it, and that we could do so from the true heart of giving, which is giving without expectation. That's true giving. And I don't think that anything else is true giving, right? And so this Piscean energy, and especially this Mars squaring Uranus, is like, if you want to feel free with your energy, when you give, do it from that love place, because we will always receive. We will always receive. It may not be in Libra style, of this like, well, it's going to come directly back to me in this form and I'm going to get the exact same thing in return, right? We need to broaden our perspective at this time when we're in, Venus and Mars in Aquarius, when we have all this Piscean energy that's happening. It's really a time to broaden our perspective and look at universal principles, to come into one of the biggest Piscean gifts and goals that the Piscean archetype has to often work for is faith. Faith and trust that what is ours, what is meant for us, will always come to us. It can't not come to us. We don't have to give anything to receive, to be worthy and deserving of receiving. And if we give out of obligation, then that love isn't with it. That true intention isn't with it. And so if we want to honor ourselves, we listen. Can I give this right now? Do I need a minute to think about it? Do I need to contemplate it a little more? Do I need to circle back? We don't always have to answer right away or know right away, which often we don't in Pisces season, right? So this is super important and relative to the eclipses coming up. We're going to have 2 eclipses in this season. The big one is April 8th, like I said, in Aries, really activating and checking us. How are we doing in honoring our truth and our sovereignty? How are we doing with honoring self? Are we listening? Are we healing the subconscious programs that we're still carrying? That I'm not enough, I don't deserve this, I have to suffer, I have to struggle, I'm never accepted, people don't understand me, people don't think I'm smart enough, whatever it might be. Take this opportunity for the rest of this month to really open up. This week is about clearing out old relationships and old energy drains that aren't working for us, but to always come back to self. And I've had 3 mottos that have been really, really helpful for me lately this week. And it has been, 1, other people's responses and reactions are none of my business. They're actually none of my business. They don't belong to me. 2, what if everything happening is just something happening? What if we don't attach a story to every little thing? You might be noticing that you can become more aware of the stories you are attaching to every little thing that happens at this time. Because Chiron, our deepest wounds from early programming, is amplified on Rahu, the head of the dragon, the north node of the moon. Interestingly, Chiron sacrificed himself to save Prometheus, who brought humankind fire, the fire of life, of spirit, of higher vision and knowledge and learning. And Uranus is quite active, who is associated with Prometheus. So there's this moment of saying, maybe it's not about sacrificing ourselves to others, but it's about releasing and letting die that old version of self. Aries is all about personal identity. And when we change our identity, we change our reality of life. When we change our story about who we are, that's still there in the subconscious, we change that identity. When we change that personal identity, we change our reality. It's like the field of Pisces, the quantum infinite potential, is 100% available to us. We just have to actually do a little bit of psychic surgery, a little bit of energy work to come into where is my heart of hearts wanting to give and show up? Why am I doing this? Aligning with that reason instead of all the stories. Mercury's going to go into Aries at the end of the week. I am super excited for this. The mind is going to get sharp and clear, and it might become a lot easier to really take action and move things out. But this week is going to show us what needs to move, why it needs to move, and help us to see the stories that have been holding us back from our highest potential as sovereign, individuated beings expressing our highest purpose, living fulfilled lives in service to the awakening that is happening on the planet now. So excited. Bless all of it. And if you're interested in quantum theta healing with yours truly, I would be honored to serve. This work transformed my life. It healed me when I was so sick I couldn't get out of bed 4 years ago. And it is unbelievable what happens when we're able to go into these theta brainwave states. So it's like a guided meditation, takes us in. After we identify what we want to shift, we clear out those old stories. We can clear trauma from the energy body. We can align and activate the chakras with energy healing. And then we bring in the activations that is our highest truth, that aligns us with the lives we want to live, can bring us into connection, relationships, abundance, healing, you name it. The potential is limitless. So, thanks for joining me, and stay limitless.